Hey guys, welcome in this video. Today we're going to review some of the most aggressive hands that I played over the last 2 weeks. First of all, little disclaimer, I am nl200 player, but these games are on app games. We're playing from nl100 to nl200 roughly, and we're just going to go through my opinion on how to play these hands against fish. Everything you're going to see here is really far away from GTO. The reason is that my tables are extremely fishy. I'm doing a lot of table selecting, and so we're going to see how to attack fish and how to be very aggressive against this type of players. So we're going to start in the small blind with ace queen of suits. We have a passive, weak reg, low VP, low 3-bet opening. We're going to go for the 4-bet, for the 3-bet, sorry, standard sizing, 4.5. We can go 5x2, but he's opening 3x, so far, nothing to say. This flop, against a very passive player, checking is great because he's basically going to tell us his hand. He's never going to go for a 3-barrel jam as a bluff, or really rarely. So I like checking with this hand. I have showdown value. I'll start bluffing with king high, queen high types of hands. So I'm checking. He's going for a small 3-bet. And we're not going to fold yet. Our hand has too much equity, even though we know that his betting range is stronger than it should be. We also know that because he's weak and passive, and he doesn't do a lot of hero call, we can always try to bluff later. So we're going to call. Turn is a 4, basically a brick. We check. He check back. Now when he's checking back the turn, what is his range? Does he have queens, 10s? Not really often. He will often keep betting them. He mostly have 8s and 9s, some weak 7s, and some give ups. And on this river, I choose to blast. I went for the jam. So the jam is a little bit more than 150% pot. It's not theoretically correct, but my idea is that his range is mostly pocket pairs. He does have many 5x, which make a straight. He does have many flush. I have the queen of club, that helps, but it's not really the main reason why I do this. It's just because I believe that here he will never find a call with pocket 8 with a club, pocket 9 with a club, pocket 10 with a club, and so on. So I go for the jam, and I think this play is actually quite fine. Next hand, sorry for the noise if you can hear the vacuum behind, my bad. We have Jack 10. We are against 3 fish, a fish open. We choose to not 3-bet. We can also 3-bet. The reason why I didn't 3-bet is because the 3 guys behind me have a VP above 50%. So even if I 3-bet, they might call me with like random king jack offsuit or random hands. So this hand plays well in multi-way. So I choose 2 flat. If I had a reg behind me, I would just 3-bet every time, obviously. It's just that everybody behind me is basically fish, so we just go for the call. We get in 3 ways, or in 4 ways rather. Under the gun who opened check. It's a fish. When he's checking, he's capping his range, because when the fish here has a king, even pocket queen or pocket jack, they might just bet it. So he's capping his range. We're not going to go for the bluff yet. We're happy to see the turn. But we see this really mergy B50% pot from the fish. So yes, when the fish stab in multi-way, it's underbluffed. But this sizing is very mergy. Fish can do this with pocket 7. They can do this with a 9, a king, random things. So we're not so scared. We got 1 call and 2 call, and here I think what I should have done, I should have just called. I think I just have the pot odds to call, and we can always attack later, but I choose to raise. I remember how I played this hand. This is one of my leaks that I'm applying some GTO theory against fishes. So here I was thinking, okay, if I want to raise for value, I would raise what, some good kings, some sets and 2 pairs, and then which are my bluffs here? Well, my only bluffs are going to be queen 10 and jack 10 with the backdoor flush. So I pick this one for a bluff, which is probably completely fine theory wise, but against fishes it's probably not a good idea. Second mistake I made was my sizing. I think I should go much bigger, but then the SPR is going to be really low. So that's why raising is it's good in theory, I guess, because we want to have some bluff. But against fish, the only question we need to ask ourselves here is it overfolded? If I raise, are they going to overfold? Well, we're trying to make fold 3 people, so the answer is no. So we're basically hoping for a call and then a good turn. But even if we jam turn, because if somebody call, we're basically gonna have to probably jam turn or check, I suppose. Even a good turn like a heart or an ace, which is good for my range. Even on a good turn, if I'm jamming, they're probably gonna call a king because they're really bad fish and they're just gonna call. So that was a mistake, and I'm not here just to show you all of my wins. I'm also here to show you what I've been doing wrong. This is clearly something I did wrong. Next hand, we are gonna open. So if I have only fish behind me, I would open 4 big blind, ace king off. But we have fish. We have I think 1 or 2 rigs behind, so we're just gonna open the normal sizing. We get in 3 ways. This guy is a very big fish, very sticky. Yeah, just a horrible guy. No offense, but yeah. So he's gonna check. I want to bet here. The board is drawy. It's just we're against fishes, so I think this guy is a reg. I'm not sure, but anyway, we have a fish there. We have a very good hand. We're just gonna put money in the middle. So we're gonna start with a decent bet. On multi-way, we usually don't go for huge bets. So we go for a pretty small bet, but that's actually a standard sizing. We get called by the 2 guys, which is cool. Antonio's an 8, so is it a very dangerous card? Well, let's ask ourselves. Who can have 6-4 suited? He can't have 6-4 suited because he's just too good to call this hand pre-flop. He would never call this one. The fish can have 6-4 suited, and he can maybe have 7-4, 9-4, right? 9-6, sorry. So he could have 9-6 and 6-4. That's all. He's the only one who can have straights. Let's know that when he has a straight, he's usually gonna donk or even check raise. So he's checking. I go for a value bet, obviously. We have a fold, and he's calling. At this time, I'm thinking my hand is very strong here against him. He would raise a straight or donk a straight very often, because there's a flush draw, and that's just how fish plays usually. So he's capping his range. He has less strong hands. Can he have some 2 pair? Well, he would check raise 2 pair on flop because I went for a very small c-bet, which is also one of the very good thing about this small c-bet is that if you go for a big c-bet, they might not raise 2 pair, but when you go for a small c-bet and they see the board is drawy, when they call, they basically never have king 5 and king 7 or really rarely. Any slow plays now would have raise flop or raise turn. So we get to the river, we're very comfortable. The 4 is annoying, obviously, because the 6 gets there, the straight gets there with the 6. The fish can have some, I can have some, but not that many, but that's not really the point. I am not so scared of the 6, to be honest, especially when the fish check again. When he's checking, once again, he would have donk a 6 on the river out of fairly high frequency. So he can have some 6s, but not that often. So here, in theory, if I'm playing against a good player, I should check back. Against a fish who capped his range, I should go for it. But I made a mistake. The mistake was my sizing. That was a fairly big mistake, to be honest. That was a bit punty. I went for the jam, thinking that I'm really not scared of straights that much. And just keep in mind that this is a very big fish. It's not like an average fish. It's close to be a whale, but even so, a whale might fold a king against this sizing because he would be afraid of the 4. So I should have just go for probably 2/3, which would have been better because now it starts to be kinda in a weird spot where I might only get called by better hands and make him fold worse kings. But he snapped call with king 10. I think it's very important to not be result oriented and to not be like, well, clearly that was the best sizing because he called with king 10. No, I don't think so. I think we just got lucky here, and I think I should have just go for a smaller river sizings, even though I felt very comfortable with my hand. based on his profile and based on the timings. Timings are also very important. So fairly big mistake for me here, but this time we didn't got punished. On to the next hand, we have 10-9 suited, we open, we get 3-bet. That's just a pretty weak reg. And against pretty weak regs, what I want to do normally is, because they don't 3-bet enough, so I'm gonna fold more to 3-bet, especially my hands like ace queen of suit I might actually 4-bet, but ace jack suited, ace 10 suited I will fold, king jack suited I will fold. So I prefer call. These kind of hands are less dominated. So we're just gonna go for the call. To be honest, I could also just fold. If your opponent don't 3-bet enough, the best way to exploit them is to not play against them when they have a strong range. That's all. If you know his range is too strong, then just don't play against him unless you have a very strong hand. So anyway, I'm calling. We have this flop. I check. You go for a bit more than 1/3. Here I'm definitely gonna have some check raises as value. My jacks, queens would 4-bet, even though against someone who doesn't 3-bet a lot, I would still 4-bet queens. So I don't have queens, but I have queen jack and jacks. I might have a bit of 5 because once again I prefer call 5 than ace jack. So I have a fair amount of value hands here, and I want to have some bluffs too. Now the question is, which hands are the best to bluff? I believe this hand is great to bluff because if I get jammed on, this hand is basically fine and I can just fold. Meanwhile, if I had a flush draw and I get jammed on, I'm really sad. Unless I have like king 10 of diamond, in which case I'm ahead even against aces. But yeah, so this is a better bluff than some very high equity draws that actually might be really sad when they face a re-raise. So we go for the raise. In this spots, raises are small. The main idea is to make him fold pocket 9, pocket 10, pocket 8, ace king, ace 10. He's not meant to fold ace king and ace 10 very often, or even pocket 9 with a diamond, but it's a weak player, so he might do it. That's just a normal way to raise on 3-bet pots, to be honest. We could go much bigger. That's just a theoretical sizing that I did there. Maybe I could have taken more time and go for like 3.5x and really try to pressure his jack X and lower pairs and things. But yeah, I just went for a small check raise, which is okay theoretically speaking, but maybe it's not the best move here. He's calling. We're not surprised. He's not going to fold very often. That's totally fine. And now on the turn, jack is horrible. I should check range. But I choose to not check range because he has a lot of jacks normally. Because normally he's going to bet flop some jack X and he's going to call the raise with some jack X. But this guy, being passive and weak, he might check his jacks on the flop, thinking that he has second pair, which is a mistake here. But anyway, so I think actually the jack, he doesn't have that many. He should have a lot of jacks here. He doesn't have that many. I don't have any jacks, or very, very, very rarely a jack. But I don't think he knows that. So that's the main point here. I think I'm just going to exploit him basically by knowing that he doesn't know I don't have a jack, and I'm just going to keep barreling. So here, same story. I don't want to go too big. I think I'm just going to go for a small sizing, try to put pressure on queen X, on lower pairs, flush draws, and then I can jam river on blanks. I like to bluff with this hand. I don't like to bluff with a flush draw because now I will really often get jammed on. And if I get jammed on with this hand, it's a slam dunk fold just because he can have a jack. I can already be dead. You could have a better straight draw. Anyway, so I go for it. He's calling. And so now we're going to see the river, the 9. It's important here to say that we don't actually have showdown value with 2 9s. We only win against ace king of diamond, that's all, and ace 10 of diamond, so we win against 2 combos, I suppose. That's all. And here, if we want to go into theory, what are my bluffs? Well, if I don't bluff this hand because I have a pair of 9, then I just never have any bluff here, except something like ace 4 of diamond, which should not bluff in theory because I am basically breaking the folds with 2 diamonds in my hand. But anyway, so here I just basically follow the plan. I go for it. I hope he fold kings and queens. kings and aces, sorry, and some ace queen, king queen. He should not fold this hand in theory, but I believe he might because he's a bit tight and passive. So I go for it, and we got snapped by the nuts, so that's totally fine. This hand is fine. I could have played it differently. I could have just check turn and basically go for a check fold. I think this guy being passive and facing a check raise on the flop, he's probably not going to reopen the action turn that often with weak hands. So when he's going to reopen the action turn, his range is going to be really strong. So basically I can just take this, use this as my advantage to just check and basically get to know what he has. And if he check back turn, then I might actually consider jamming river. But yeah, I took another line which is alright. It's maybe not the best line. Move on to the next hand. We are in a bomb pot on the flop with 9 suited. Check, check, check. I choose to check. I can bet too. We're against too many fish, so we don't really have to talk about theory here. Of course, in theory, this probably is a very good hand to bluff. But anyway, we face a pot from a weak passive guy again, if I remember correctly. Pot in bomb pot is really underbluffed. He basically is saying he has an overpair or 2 pairs. That's all. So we're not going to go for a check raise, but we are not going to fold yet, I believe. So I go for the call. Yeah, call is alright. It's not amazing. Could I fold here? Knowing his range, I might actually be able to fold. But anyway, and you see the ace on the turn, and I think that's a very good card for me because if he had kings, queens, and jacks, he's gonna be so sad on this turn. And if he has this guy being weak and passive, he might even fold a bad 2 pair just because he's afraid of me having better 2 pair or sets with the ace coming. So why do I do that? Just because I just choose to go in. So I go all in. There's 84 big blind in the middle. He has 170 big blind behind. So that's a freaking giant all in. Almost 2 buy-ins basically. And I am betting on the fact that if he has a 10, an over pair that is between 10 and ace, he's just gonna fold. And even a 2 pair might fold. And if he calls, well, we still have 15 outs, so we still have 30% equity. So we jam. He tanked for ages, and I remember he called it the last second with top 2 on the flop. But he tanked a lot with his hand, which proved my point that it's a very good play because he was basically considering folding this hand on the turn. And when you think about it, when you are in his shoe and you get donk jam 2x spots when the pot is 80 big blind on this turn, do you really gonna think it's a bluff? I don't think so, right? You're just gonna think there's no way this is a bluff. This is just crazy. And to be honest, yeah, I'm not gonna have many bluff here. I will not do this with a hand like queen jack of club or so yeah, I think this is actually fine. And well, we got lucky this time. We made a straight, but whatever. I'm actually happy with this play, even though it might looks like completely maniacal, but yeah, I like it. Next one, we are in 9 max. 9 max under the gun. I like to limp re-raise when my table has a lot of aggressive players, which was the case here. If the table is full of passive recreationals, I will just open my hand, probably 4 big blind. Fuck it. Anyway, we're limping, but sadly, everybody fold. Nobody raised, sorry. We get to this flop. We're just going to go for it. The board is drawy. We have another pair. We're just going to go for another bet here. Seems pretty fine. We overbet. We get 1 call. Turn is a jack. Sure, he can have queen jack. Sure, he can have 3s and 6s that don't raise flop because I went for an overbet flop. So if he has a sets or 2 pair, he might not always raise flop. But still, he still has a lot of queens. This guy had a very high VP again, so he can have queen 9 offsuit here. He can have tons of worse hands. So this is a clear slam dunk value of a bet. I'm just going for 2x spot because I like it. it's fair to notice that we are very deep. We are 500 big blind deep. He's calling, and then on this river, obviously we cannot jam. There's something like 70 big blind in the middle. I think I made a mistake here. I think I should have go smaller. This is 150 big blind, and that's the problem. It's just too scary. I should have just go for pot. I think pot. I would have get called by queen very fast, pretty easily here. When fish sees the board with like so many potential draws on the flop, and they all miss, they always assume that you had a flush draw or a straight draw. You know, they always put you on a draw, so that's why it's always a good spot to value very big. Maybe that's why I went for the overbet, but I probably should have go for pot. I think pot, I would have got called by a queen. He folded after a small tank. Yeah, whatever. Ace queen, limp, is a raise, and he's calling. We're in heads up. I'm gonna check. This board is pretty bad for me. I want to get some information on his range. He's checking flop. He never has two pairs anymore. He never have a good jack anymore. So it's a very good information for me to use later on to attack if I feel like my hand is not good enough. On the turn though, I think checking is still fine. We're in heads up, so this hand has a ton of showdown value. He has a lot of king high. He is also probably giving up with like 4-5 already, so just don't need to bluff yet. But his stabbing turn really small, and I definitely can call because I have the pot odds. But I can also raise because he checked back flop on this very jewelry board, so he never has a strong range. And the 10 connect a bit with the checking range. Sure, he can have 10-8, 10-6, but that's all. Yeah, 9-7, but he might even bet 9-7 on flop, to be honest, and queen 9 as well. So does have many good hands here. I choose to just call because I have shouldn't value, and we're not always taking the hammer and like trying to smash everything around and going all in every hands, right? And now comes this river, and I think checking is fine. We just follow the plan, right? Shouldn't value. But now he's just betting again. Okay, alright. So now I think it's calling is okay. I think it's EV plus because I risk 100 to win 500, so I need to be right 20% of the time. I'm gonna be right more than that. So calling is making money. But he's betting small on the turn and small on the river on the board where he cannot have many two pairs and strong hands. He checked flop and so on. So knowing all of this, I should raise. I just made a blunder with my sizing. I should have go bigger. But the problem if I go bigger is just why not just go all in. The only issue is that sometimes I feel like that's just my opinion. I might be wrong, but I feel like when you go all in here, fish start to be suspicious, and when they see a flush draw on the flop, once again they're going to be like, no, I put you on queen, king, queen of heart, and I'm not gonna fold my 10. So yeah, so maybe a smaller raise is also fine. I'm not sure about the sizing actually, but yeah, it worked, and I think it's very important to attack here. Once again, calling was making money, but I think raising was making more money. We're A6, this table full of fish, and but it's the same hand. It's the same table with the kings, with this guy who was crazy, total maniac. You can see his stacks. His stacks is 10 buy-in. So basically he's just going all in roughly every 2 or 3 hands, and he's just been running good. So he had 10 buy-ins now, but don't worry about it. Obviously 30 minutes later he had nothing, and everybody at the table, as you can see, has giant stack as well. Why? Because this guy is just opening 40 big blind and doing shit like this. So this hand we open very big because why not? Let's be flexible. Let's not always press the 2.5x button to open. That's not how we make money at poker. So we raise big against this guy. Obviously he's calling. We have another caller. I don't remember if this guy is a fish or not. We have nothing. We're just not going to start to bluff with this guy. He's never going to fold. He's probably going to call queen high even on the flop. Just trying to hit. That's a proper huge whale basically. Turn is nice for me. I can bet, I can check. Both are okay. I go for the bet and I go for the overbet. I probably should go even bigger to try to stack off river when I hit. I go for 2x spot, 2.5. But yeah, He's calling, and now that he called my overbet, it's important to tell ourselves, all right, if river is not a heart, I just give up, just because if he called an overbet turn, is he gonna fold river? Basically, he filtered his range here. He only called with good hands now, so yeah, we got there on the river, and now what to do? Well, that's very tricky. This guy being fucking insane, I just checked. That's a very easy one. Against another player, it might be tricky to find the proper sizing. It depends on the opponent. But against him, we're checking. He's going for a small bet. We obviously just jam because, why not? And he's calling the jam. So we just jam 250 big blind in a 100 big blind pot. So we just jam 2.5x, and he just snapped with the queen, 2 pair, right? So yeah, just be greedy, just go for it, man. It just works. That's how we do. All right, last 3 hands. Ace queen, we have a limper, a flat. We're gonna ISO. I could have go bigger than 7 big blind, to be honest. Anyway, the flat might is a raise. This board, we're gonna start with the check, just because I'm happy to check call. He's betting 2/3. If he bets smaller, would I check raise? Probably not. I'm just gonna be happy to call. Here I'm happy to call too, not because I have the ace of club, but just because there is a limp and a flat, and when he goes 2/3 here, what does he have? Can he have pocket 10, pocket jacks that he didn't use a raise pre-flop? Not that often, no, not a lot. When he bet this big, he says what? He says he has a 3. Even a 9 would probably not go this big. So we're just calling. 8, brick, check. He go half pot. Half pot is the sizing fish love to use when they don't know what to do. I think here's a call. And 8 again. I check. I was sad to see the 8, to be honest, because now if he has an ace, and I'm hero calling, we're gonna split. But I think here it's important to call. Basically, he's saying he has a 3. That's all right. He might not do this. He doesn't do this with a 9 anymore, obviously. So he has a 3, or would an 8 bet flop and bet turn? Probably, but does he have many 8s? Yeah, he can have an 8, whatever. But he can also have a lot of like king 10 off, queen 10 off, queen jack off. 4 5, 5 6, 6 7, 6 5, 7 5. All of this shit. So that's a call. That's just a call. There's no way around it. And yeah, we get shown the total airball, and not surprised at all. This board 9-3-3. What the fuck can the fish have when you 3-barrel, right? So yeah, open 2.5, open 5 big blinds. Sorry, I probably should fold, but this guy Samurai is close to a maniac as well. So we go for the raise because king jack off doesn't play well in multi-way. So I just want to raise and shoo people away. It's not a very big raise when you look at it, but when you look at the stack size, that's already pretty healthy, right? I'm gonna make many people fold because it's just really big, and so we're heads up against Samurai, which is good. We pray to hit. We don't hit. I can check fold. If you're against an aggressive guy, you can just check fold because we don't fight fire with fire. We just fight fire with water, meaning that if he's really aggressive, we're just gonna wait to have a good hand and just never let it go, right? Just like the ace queen, it's not that good of a hand, it's just an ace high, but against guys like that, it is good enough to just call. Anyway, I go for it though. It's okay. On this board, it has so many trash, and I can make him fold better hands like ace highs. But except ace high, I can't make him fold a pair, so meaning that I'm probably gonna have to keep betting turn. Otherwise, I'm betting flop to make him fold only ace high. It's not a big part of his range, even though it's a pretty big part of his range, honestly, because since he's very fishy, he has probably ace 5 offsuit, ace 7 offsuit, ace 8 offsuit, and so on. So that's many combo. But anyway, going for it, he's calling, turn is a 7, and now we're just thinking we can just completely give up. I probably should have given up, to be honest. Sure, in theory, I'm probably gonna have some jam here as value with queens and jacks, maybe even 10s, and some bluff, and my bluff here are going to be some hands with equity, like some flush draws and some total air balls, and so I just choose to jam this one, but against a fish, probably not good. He might snap me with pocket 5 and say, like, oh, I put you on ace king. So actually, I think that was a mistake. And he's calling, and we got punished, or did we? We didn't. We didn't. So we got lucky there, and now we just have to dodge to have outs, and we did, and we got lucky. But I think not going all in was probably the best move here. And that's it. Hope you liked it, and I'm gonna see you soon. Ciao, bye bye.